The studio of The View buzzed with anticipation. The live audience, a mix of faces ranging from young fans in John Wick t-shirts to older viewers who remembered The Matrix, waited eagerly. Spotlights bathed the stage in warm light, and the hum of cameras mingled with the hushed chatter of producers backstage, creating a sense of controlled chaos. Today's guest was special, Keanu Reeves, an actor beloved for his charisma, humility, and enigmatic aura. He was there to promote his new film, another action blockbuster poised to dominate the box office. But no one was prepared for what happened next. This moment would go down in television history. Keanu walked onto the stage to thunderous applause. His signature laid-back stride, jeans, black t-shirt, leather jacket, contrasted with the studio's glitz. He smiled faintly, gave a small wave, and sat across from the hosts. Joy Behar, Sarah Haynes, Sunny Hostin, and Whoopi Goldberg sat at the table, each with a smile. But Joy's eyes glinted with that telltale spark, the anticipation of stirring the pot. The audience quieted as Joy, known for her sharp tongue, took the lead. "Keanu, great to see you," Joy began, her voice warm but laced with a hint of sarcasm. "You're playing the tough guy saving the world again. But tell me, doesn't it get old being the hero all the time? Or is it just a way to hide that you're not so heroic in real life?" The audience laughed, but it was a nervous chuckle. Keanu raised an eyebrow, his face remaining calm, though a flicker of surprise passed through his eyes. He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "You know, Joy, I'm just doing my job. Movies are a way to tell stories, give people some hope or adrenaline. I'm not trying to be a hero." Sarah Haynes, sensing the slight tension, tried to steer the conversation. "Keanu, your new film looks incredible. Tell us about the filming. Was it exhausting?" She smiled, hoping to keep things light. But Joy wasn't letting go. "Hold on, Sarah, I'm not done," Joy interrupted, her voice sharpening. "Keanu, you're always so calm, so nice guy. But let's be real. All this charity stuff, stories about giving away your paychecks, isn't that just PR? No one's that altruistic without a reason." The studio fell silent. The cameras, which had been humming, seemed to pause. The audience, still chuckling moments ago, now sat in tense silence. Sunny Hostin exchanged an awkward glance with Whoopi, who pursed her lips, unsure how to respond. Keanu leaned forward, his gaze growing serious. His voice, still soft, carried a steely edge. "Joy, I don't do it for the cameras. I do it because I believe everyone should help when they can. It's not PR. It's just right." His words were simple but sincere, and the audience erupted in applause. Some even stood, cheering in support. But Joy just smiled, her eyes narrowing. "Oh, come on, Keanu, don't play the saint. We all know Hollywood's a game. You play the good guy to sell tickets. And by the way," she paused, her voice turning more biting, "why do you never talk about your personal life? What are you hiding? Some skeletons in the closet?" The silence in the studio became oppressive. Even the producers backstage, usually buzzing in their earpieces, went quiet. The camera operator zooming in on Keanu hesitated, trying to capture his reaction. Keanu clenched his fists, his jaw tightening, but he still held himself together. The audience began to whisper, a few pulling out their phones to record the moment. Whoopi Goldberg, sensing the situation spiraling, tried to intervene. "Joy, maybe we should get back to the movie? Keanu, tell us about the stunts." Her voice was strained, but Joy waved her off. "No, Whoopi, I want the truth. People want to know who Keanu Reeves really is, not this sad Keanu image you're selling. You're not a saint, are you? Why do you dodge questions about your past? Maybe because there's something you're ashamed of?" That was too much. Keanu stood. His movements were slow but deliberate. The studio froze, the only sound the click of his boots on the glossy floor. He looked directly at Joy, his eyes burning with quiet anger but also pain, a deep, human vulnerability that made the audience hold their breath. "Joy, I came here to talk about a movie. But you want to dig into my life, my losses, my pain. You think that'll get you ratings?" His voice trembled but stayed firm. I'm not hiding. I'm just trying to live the best I can. And you know what? I don't owe you or anyone an explanation. The audience erupted in applause, louder and more emotional this time. Some wiped tears, others shouted words of support. Joy tried to speak, but her voice was drowned out by the noise. Keanu turned to the audience, his face softening. I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy trying to do some good. If you want to know who I am, look at the people I tried to help. The ones who fight every day. They're the real heroes. He turned and walked off to the wings, leaving the studio in a storm of emotions. The producers scrambled, security rushed toward the stage, and Joy sat gripping the table, her face a mix of shock and irritation. The audience was divided. Some chanted Keanu's name, others whispered, clearly stunned. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every moment that was already going viral. The studio of The View still thrummed with the tension left in Keanu Reeves' wake as he exited to the wings. His words, charged with quiet strength, hung in the air, and the audience couldn't tear their eyes from the stage. Some still held their phones, recording a moment destined to go viral on social media. Joy Behar, usually unflappable in such situations, looked rattled. Her fingers nervously clutched a pen, and the smile she used to mask her discomfort seemed forced. Whoopi Goldberg, sensing the show slipping out of control, raised her hand sharply, signaling the producers to cut to commercial. All right, we'll be right back after a short break, Whoopi called out, her voice slightly higher than usual. The cameras pulled back, the spotlights dimmed, and the hum of equipment became the only sound in the studio. The audience whispered among themselves, sharing reactions. He destroyed her, muttered a young man in a Matrix t-shirt. Joy went too far, replied an older woman nearby, shaking her head. But not everyone sided with Keanu. Some felt he was dodging answers, fueling their curiosity. Backstage, Keanu stood near the green room, his shoulders slightly slumped but his posture still upright. His agent, a young woman with a tense expression, hurried to his side. Keanu, you okay? We can leave right now if you want. He shook his head, his gaze distant. I don't want to run. But I'm not going to sit there and justify who I am. Meanwhile, in the studio, the producers buzzed like bees in a hive. The head producer, a man with gray hair and tired eyes, whispered into his headset. This is gold, but we can't let the show fall apart. Get him back if you can, but no more drama. Security stood on alert, and the camera operators, sensing the tension, kept their lenses trained on the host's table, where Joy was trying to regain control. I didn't do anything wrong, Joy muttered to Sonny Hostin, seated beside her. He knew this was a talk show. We asked tough questions. Sonny, who usually backed Joy, looked uncertain this time. Maybe you pushed a bit too hard, Joy. He didn't seem ready for that. Joy scoffed, but her confidence was visibly shaken. As the commercial break ended, the spotlights flared back to life, and Whoopi, taking on the role of peacemaker, addressed the audience. All right, let's keep going. We got a little heated, but let's talk about what really matters, Keanu's new movie. She smiled, but her eyes darted nervously toward the wings, hoping Keanu would return. And he did. The audience erupted in applause as Keanu reappeared on stage. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with a quiet fire. He sat, crossing his arms, and looked directly at Joy. I came back because I don't want this to look like I'm running away. But let's get one thing straight, Joy. You want the truth? The truth is, I'm not playing games for ratings. I'm here to talk about a movie, about art, about what brings people together. If you want to dig into my life, that's your choice. But I'm not joining that circus. The studio exploded in applause, louder this time. Some in the audience stood, chanting his name. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but the words caught in her throat. She clearly hadn't expected Keanu to return with such force. Whoopi, sensing a chance to defuse the situation, jumped in. Keanu, that's powerfully said. Let's talk about your film, what inspired you. But Joy couldn't stop. Her voice grew sharper as she leaned forward. You know, Keanu, you can talk about art and unity, but people want to know who you really are. You can't just hide behind this nice guy image and dodge hard questions. Why don't you ever talk about your losses? About your girlfriend who? That was too far. Keanu stood abruptly, his face pale but his eyes blazing with anger and pain. The studio froze, the audience's breath seemingly held in unison. Joy. His voice was low, almost a whisper, but each word cut like a knife. There are lines. You crossed them. My losses aren't your show. They're not entertainment. They're my life. He turned to the audience, his voice growing louder but still trembling with emotion. I'm not perfect. I've lost people I loved. I've struggled with pain, just like many of you. But I believe we can be better, not by tearing each other down, but by lifting each other up. If you want to know who I am, I'm just someone trying to make the world a little better, even if it's just through movies. The audience erupted in a standing ovation, many in tears. Keanu turned and walked off the stage, this time for good. Joy sat stunned, her face a mix of shame and defiance. Whoopi, Sunny, and Sarah tried to salvage the situation, pivoting to another topic, but it was clear the show wouldn't recover its usual rhythm. Producers whispered frantically into their headsets, and camera operators scrambled to catch the final shots of Keanu disappearing into the wings. The moment went viral before the show even ended. Clips flooded social media, and the hashtag Keanu vs. Joy began trending. Some accused Joy of being heartless, while others argued Keanu was avoiding accountability. But most admired his dignity and vulnerability. The conflict became more than a TV moment. It sparked a conversation about the line between entertainment and respect for personal pain. The next day, the media was abuzz. Some outlets called Keanu the hero who put Joy in her place, while others criticized him for being overly sensitive. On social media, fans created memes, clips, and posts supporting the actor, thanking him for his humanity. Joy posted a tweet attempting to justify herself, but it only fueled the fire of debate. The View's reputation took a hit, though, as often happens, its ratings soared. What do you think of this conflict? Did Keanu do the right thing by walking out? Did Joy go too far? Share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to catch more stories like this.